Hi there, welcome to the Sonata Switchables tutorial. Let's work on some rounded pockets and heart pockets. This includes pattern pieces 22 through 24. For those of you who already own the Sonata Set, Sonata Set pattern pieces 8 through 10 are identical to pattern pieces 22 through 24 in the Sonata Switchables pattern. Press top edge 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter, down on both rounded pocket and heart pocket facings. For rounded pockets, pattern piece 22, fold top under at notches. Press. For heart pockets, pattern piece 23 through 24, place facing on top of heart pocket. Sew at 1/4 inch, which is 6 millimeters, all around the edges of the pockets. For heart pockets, pivot at the corners. Overlock or zigzag the edges. For rounded pockets, pattern piece 22, cut 1/4 inch, which is 6 millimeters, off the corners to reduce bulk. For heart pockets, pattern piece 23 through 24, cut seam allowance down to 1/8 of an inch, which is 3 millimeters, in the facing area. Turn pockets right side out. On rounded pockets, pattern piece 22, use a point turner for crisp pocket corners. Use the 1/4 inch, which is 6 millimeter, stitch line as a guide to press a fold around the perimeter of both pocket styles. On the heart pockets, pattern pieces 23 through 24, use a marking tool to draw a line 1 7/8 inch, which is 4.8 centimeters, from the top of the pocket. You will stitch at this line. On the rounded pockets, pocket piece 22, stitch down 1 7/8, which is 4.8 centimeters, from the top pocket fold. On both types of pockets, you can either sew from the outside using a guide or sew from the inside sewing 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters, from the inner fold. For the heart pocket, pattern pieces 23 through 24, you'll want to figure out where your stitching will stop and start. Place paper pattern piece 24, in the Switchables and pattern piece 10 in the Sonata Set on top of your fabric pocket. Transfer the notches with a marking tool. Place and position pockets on pants or shorts using the pocket placement markings. Pin in place and edge stitch 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters, from the pocket perimeter. Over the course of my sewing career, I've made a number of welt pockets and have always found the process to be unnecessarily complicated. For this pattern, I've simplified their construction to make them more beginner-friendly. Without further ado, let's move on to the welt pockets. This includes pattern pieces 25 and 26. If you've not already transferred the rounded pocket markings to your shorts and pants, go ahead and do that. I'm going to ask you to cut 2 strips of fusible interfacing based on some pocket sizes. For small pockets, cut your interfacing 7 1/8 inch by 1 3/8 inch. That is 18.1 centimeters by 3.5 centimeters. For medium pockets, cut your interfacing 8 1/4 inch by 1 3/8 inch. That is 21 centimeters by 3.5 centimeters. For large pockets, cut your interfacing 9 1/4 inch by 1 3/8 inch. That is 23.5 centimeters by 3.5 centimeters. Place the welt pocket template, which is pattern piece 25, over your strip of interfacing, centering the welt markings. Transfer markings and connect the dots using a straight edge. Align the top of your interfacing pocket markings with the top of your rounded pocket markings, ensuring the glue side of the interfacing faces the wrong side of the fabric. You will notice that the original pocket markings on the shorts or pants are slightly more narrow than the welt pocket template. Simply center the welt pocket markings over the original pocket markings. If your interfacing is not transparent, you may need to fold the interfacing up at the line to see the markings beneath. Press interfacing on top of welt pocket markings, glue side to wrong side of fabric. Hold your iron still over each section for 10 to 15 seconds. Do not use steam unless your specific instructions call for it. Since fusible interfacing adherence can vary, check your interfacing instructions for specifics. Stitch around the perimeter of the welt pocket markings, pivoting at corners. Cut along the center line of the rectangle, stopping at the small triangles at the end. Clip diagonally into the corners of the rectangle to create a Y-shaped cut. Be careful not to clip through the stitching. Press the cut edges of the welt pocket toward the wrong side of the fabric. You'll want the stitching either on the fold or slightly inside the fold. Once again, I'm going to ask you to cut 2 strips of fusible interfacing based on your preferred pocket size. For small pockets, cut your interfacing at 7 1/8 inch by 1 3/4 inch. That is 18.1 centimeters by 4.5 centimeters. For medium pockets, cut your interfacing 8 1/4 inch by 1 3/4 inch. That is 21 centimeters by 4.5 centimeters. For large pockets, cut your interfacing 9 1/4 inch by 1 3/4 inch. That is 23.5 centimeters by 4.5 centimeters. Adhere interfacing to the top of the Welt pocket bag, which is pattern piece 26. Clip into interfaced notches. We're now going to make some folds at the notches. For the center fold, you'll want your right sides of the fabric together. For the smaller fold, you'll want the wrong sides of the fabric together. And for the larger fold, you'll also want the wrong sides of the fabric together. Zigzag or overlock pocket bag edges. Repress any folds that may have been disturbed by your overlocking. Right sides together, pin the interfaced end of your pocket bag to the lower flap of your welt opening. The pocket bag should extend 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter, beyond the sides of the flap. Stitch along the flap fold or at your previous stitch line. Above the line you just stitched, refold along the line you previously pressed, pushing the pocket bag through the welt opening to the wrong side of the shorts or pants. Pin and stitch the welt opening triangle to the side of the welt pocket bag. Repeat on the other side. With your garment front right side up, press what you have sewn so far. You want these welt edges tidy and crisp. To keep your stitches nice and neat, you'll want to do this top stitching on the right side of the garment. Starting from one short end of the rectangle, sew along the rectangle sides and bottom edges 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters, from the pocket seam. Right sides facing each other, pin pocket bag sides together. When pinning, do not include the small fold at the non-interfaced end. The pocket bag should extend 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter, beyond the sides of the flap. Stitch along your original stitch line right next to the flap fold. Like you did earlier, flip your shorts or pants right side out and press what you have of your welt pocket so far. For tidy stitches, ensure that the top stitching is done on the right side of the garment. Begin sewing at one short end of the rectangle, 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters, from the pocket seam, working along the sides and top edges. Give your welt pocket a good press. Congratulations, you just made a welt pocket! Let's move on to the flower pockets. This includes pattern pieces 27 and 28. The flower pocket is made up of two pattern pieces, one with a hole in the center, pattern piece 27, and one without a hole in the center, pattern piece 28. The hole in pattern piece 27 serves two purposes. It provides a convenient opening to turn your flower right side out and creates a flower center for your finished pocket. With pattern piece 27, stitch 1/4 inch, which is 6 millimeters, around the upper flower circle. Carefully snip into the seam allowance around the entire circle, making sure not to cut the stitching. I found that the circle folds back most seamlessly when the snips are between 1/8 of an inch, which is 3 millimeters, and 1/4 inch, which is 6 millimeters wide. With right sides down, press up 1/4 inch, which is 6 millimeters, of the notched flower circle edge. If your fabric has an obvious right and wrong side, cut a circle 5/8 of an inch, which is 1.6 centimeters, wider than the original circle you cut from the flower center. This allows you to have the right side of your fabric on the inside of your pocket and also in your flower's center. You will later place this new circle inside your flower hole. Lay upper flower, which is pattern piece 27, on top of the lower flower, pattern piece 28, right sides together. Stitch around the flower pocket's perimeter with a 1/8 of an inch or 3 millimeters seam allowance. Snip into the flower corners, making sure not to cut the stitching. Using the center hole, flip flower right side out, press edges, place circle within the center of the flower circle, and stitch center circle to the lower flower piece at 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters. If your fabric's right and wrong side look the same, lay upper flower, pattern piece 27, on top of lower flower, pattern piece 28. Stitch around the flower's perimeter at a little under 1/8 of an inch, which is 3 millimeters. Snip into the flower corners, making sure not to cut the stitching. Using the center hole, flip flower right side out, press edges, and stitch center circle to the lower flower piece at 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters. Use the pocket markings on your shorts or pants to position your flower pocket. The placement of your pocket will depend on whether you are attaching the flower to the front or back of your garment. For the front, position the flower with a single petal facing upwards. For the back, position the flower with a single petal facing downwards. Those with small pockets. Before edge stitching, you will want to make sure your hand fits inside the pocket opening, which is between the center of the two petals. If it's a tight fit, start and finish your edge stitching a little wider than the center petals. Refer to the diagram as a guide for the starting point of your stitching. Edge stitch pockets starting in the center of one petal, pivoting at every petal dip. Continue edge stitching until you reach the outermost petal. Let's move on to the shorts or pants side seam pockets. This includes pattern pieces 17 through 20 and pattern piece 29. Please note that the shorts and pants pockets are constructed the same way. Fold and press side seam pockets, which is pattern piece 29, in half vertically, right sides together. Right sides together, matching notches, place pockets, pattern piece 29, on top of shorts or pants front, which is pattern piece 16 or 18. Pin in place. Stitch at 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter, starting at pocket top and ending at first notch. Snip into the notch, making sure not to cut any stitching. Finish the section between pocket top and snip notch, being careful not to catch the section below the notch. On the right side of the fabric, edge stitch pocket between pocket top and snip notch. This stitching should be about 1/16 of an inch or 2 millimeters from the seam. Fold and press pocket back so the top of the pocket aligns with the top of the pants or shorts. The edge stitching should be on the inside of the pocket and not visible from the outside of the shorts or pants. Using a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance, sew a line of stitching from the top of the pocket opening to the bottom of the pocket opening. Pivot at the bottom of the opening, stitching straight over to the side seam. For this step, you will be making a French seam. Fold pocket, wrong sides together. Stitch bottom of the pocket with a 1/8 of an inch, which is 3 millimeters, seam allowance. Flip pocket inside out. Press pocket hem. Sew pocket hem with a 1/4 inch, which is 6 millimeters, seam allowance. Base pocket top and sides to shorts or pants, sewing a 1/4 of an inch, which is 6 millimeters, from the edge. Place shorts or pants front on top of shorts and pants back, matching the notches. Pin in place. When pinning over the pocket opening area, pin the pocket opening a little further back to keep it from getting caught in the side seam stitching. We're now ready to officially start assembling the shorts and pants. This includes pattern pieces 17 through 20. Please note that while the shorts are a different length than the pants, they are constructed the same way. With right sides facing each other, aligning the notches, place shorts or pants back and front together. Pin side seams. Stitch at 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter. Finish your edges with a zigzag stitch or overlocking stitch. Press seam allowance towards back of your shorts or pants. Repeat on the other side. Press shorts or pants hem 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter, and then another 2 inches, which is 5.1 centimeters. Unfold before sewing. Working on one leg at a time, align front and back legs at inseams, right sides together. Stitch at 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter, pivoting at corner points. Finish seams and press towards back of shorts or pants. Repeat on the other leg. Fold hem onto the inside of the shorts, wrong sides facing each other. To hold hem in place, pin at inseam, outseam area, and the 2 spaces in between. Stitch down 1 7/8 inch, which is 4.8 centimeters, from the fold. You can either sew from the outside using a guide or sew from the inside 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters, from the inner fold. To assemble the rise, insert one leg into the other leg hole with right sides together, aligning the notches. Stitch at 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter. Reinforce seam by stitching over the seam you just stitched. Finish edges and turn shorts right side out. Looking from the outside, press front seam allowance to the right and back seam allowance to the left. If you have a cute little tag, this is the time to pin it to your back center seam. Not only is it a fun detail, but it will also help you quickly differentiate the back of your shorts or pants from the front. Let's use some belt loops. This uses pattern piece 21. If you're using a lightweight or slippery fabric, interfacing or spray starching your belt loops may help with ease of construction. Please note that this pattern is designed with 4 belt loops, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. If you would like to add a center back belt loop, extend the belt loop strip an additional 2 7/8 inch, which is 7.3 centimeters. Overlock one long edge of the belt loop strip. Press belt loop strip by folding it into thirds lengthwise. Edge stitch at 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters, on both sides of the belt loop strip. Cut the strip into 4 equal belt loops by folding the length in half, snipping, then repeating the process with a smaller length. Note, if you are making 5 belt loops, you will need to individually measure and cut the belt loops into 2 7/8 inch or 7.3 centimeter strips. Using the belt loop markings as a guide, pin your belt loops to your shorts or pants. Stitch belt loops 3/4 of an inch, which is 1.9 centimeters, down from the waistline. You may also want to tack the belt loops 1/4 of an inch, which is 6 millimeters, from the waistline to hold them in place. Let's move on to making the waistband. This involves pattern piece 16. Press waistband in half the long way, wrong sides together. Unfold. Press unnotched edge up 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter, wrong sides together. Unfold all folds before stitching. Sew short ends together and stitch at 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter. Press seam allowance open and repress folds. Pin waistband to shorts or pants, carefully aligning notches and seams. The waistband seam will align with the back of the shorts or pants seam. Stitch the waistband to the top of the shorts or pants at 3/8 of an inch, which is 1 centimeter. Press seam allowance towards the waistband. Fold inner waistband into the inside of the shorts or pants, wrong sides together. Pin at back seam 1 inch to either side of the back seam, the front seam, and 2 spaces in between. Starting at the back seam at the top of the waistband, stitch 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters, all the way around. At the waistband's bottom fold, pin and stitch all around, leaving 2 inches, which is 5.1 centimeters, gap at the center back. You will use this opening to feed your elastic through. To determine the length of your elastic, take your waist measurement, multiply it by 10%, and subtract that amount from your waist length. Add 1/2 inch, which is 1.3 centimeters, to account for the elastic overlap. An example of this is if I have a 25-inch waist and I multiply it by 0.10, that equals 2.5 inches. So I take my 25-inch waist, I subtract the 2.5 inches, and that equals 22.5 inches. That is the final circumference that I want for my waistband. However, in order for the elastic to overlap, I have to add an additional 0.5 inches. So I take my 22.5 inches, I add my 0.5 inches, and then that equals 23 inches for the elastic. Using a bodkin or safety pin, feed your elastic through the opening of the waistband channel, making sure it doesn't get twisted along the way. When the elastic ends meet, overlap by 1/2 inch, which is 1.3 centimeters, pin in place and sew elastic together, forming a rectangle. Backstitch to secure. From the outside of the shorts or pants, close waistband opening, stitching 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters, from the waist seam. Distribute your gathers evenly, then place a pin in 4 places: center front, center back, and side seams. Increase your stitch length by at least 1/2 a size, then stretch your waistband and stitch from pin to pin. This line of stitching will be around 5/8 of an inch, which is 1.6 centimeters, down from the top of your waistband. Steam press your waistband. If your shorts or pants do not have belt loops, congratulations, your garment is complete. If your shorts or pants do have belt loops, you still have a few more steps. Fold bottom of belt loops up where it is stitched, 3/8 of an inch, or 1 centimeter, below the waistband. Fold the top of the belt loops down 1/4 inch, which is 6 millimeters. Pin in place. Stitch at 1/16 of an inch, which is 2 millimeters, from the top and bottom of the belt loops. You can either use a regular stitch or bar tack. To bar tack, I use a zigzag stitch with a 0.5 length and a 1.5 width. Congratulations, your shorts or pants are complete! I can't talk about the Sonata Switchables without taking a moment to acknowledge my wonderful team of testers who spent so much of their time and talent helping me make this pattern so much better than I ever could have on my own. I'm so grateful for their feedback, creativity, and for these beautiful photos that show off the Sonata Switchables so well. From the bottom of my heart, thank you testers for helping me make this pattern what it is.